Wednesday.
Q&A Wednesday, where we address all your concrete concerns and concrete problems. One of my favorite phrases, it's by a gentleman named Rich Saishi. He came up with the phrase connecting bookcrete to labcrete to realcrete. And I don't know why, but the questions that we had today are, about that. There are these really cool ideas that are developed in university basement, startup labs, or startup companies.
Or just even R&D labs in a very controlled, clean environment.
Right.
Where you've got very skilled technicians working on it, very educated technicians.
And even before that, very skilled material scientists that are coming up with the decisions for these different formulas or different changes. And then it just doesn't translate into, the bookcrete. It might go to the labcrete, but it might not make it probably, more than likely, realcrete.
Yeah. It's tough to get there.
It's tough to get there. So, piggybacking on that, we've got some questions today that kind of connect look for a connection between the bookcrete and the realcrete. See, by the way, if you give us a question, we will, what's the word? Feature you on our video. So the question was from Alan. Alan, thank you for the question. Ding! So the question was, what is your opinion on jointless slabs? Now, my opinion on jointless slabs, so a joint in concrete slabs is often used to give the concrete a place to crack, whether they're cast in place or saw cut joints or cold joints.
You're controlling the joint, or you're controlling the cracks.
Well said. High five. You know what you're talking about. Now, what is the normal linear spacing between concrete joints?
Generally, concrete cracks about every 10 feet.
So we want our joint spaced
to be, ideally. It's rare that it is put that frequently. Oftentimes. No, come on. Most DOTs, it's like 12 to 15 depending on.
So, hey, but you know what? There is an equation, either it's Federal Highway Association or AASHTO, that allows you to space your concrete based on the concrete, your joints based on the concrete strength. And 12 to 15
was not terrible.
It's not terrible.
Right.
So years ago, I worked for a large company where we helped usher in this concrete that increased your joint spacing from 10 feet to 60 feet.
What?
And by doing so,
you saved a ton of money.
You saved a ton of money on labor, but you didn't induce any more cracking per the technical data sheet.
How did that work?
Well, and this is my opinion on jointless floors. Like, concrete cracks, and that's why it starts with the letter C. And that's not meant to totally be a joke, but we cannot get past the thermokinetics of cement hydration. We take water, we add cement to said water, it turns into a paste, paste gels and hardens.
Oftentimes heats up.
And it goes through a volume change. Like, there's tests to look at that volume change. ASTM C1608, chemical shrinkage. There's ASTM C157 that looks at length change, in a and that's
in a very controlled environment. I mean, you put it out in the elements, and you've got that many more variables that you hadn't planned on.
There was a paper written by Jason Weiss, who's at Oregon State now too, years ago, about shrinkage reducing admixtures and how they impact that volume change. And a wonderful, wonderful paper. But you're right. I mean, you put concrete out in the ambient environment, whether it's solar irradiation, wind, or just the heat of the day, or even the cold, it can draw more moisture out and cause a differential volume change between the top and the bottom, and that induces cracking. So we put joints in floors to control that cracking. Now, if you want to increase the linear spacing or increase the distance between joints, you have to sacrifice something. It's either putting more steel, using shrinkage reducing admixtures, crack compensating, shrink compensating, type K cements.
And the money's got to be spent somewhere.
It's not just the money, but the effort, the energy, whether that's in the form of money for admixtures
Or planning and design.
Or you're putting Visclean underneath the slab to reduce restraint.
Sure.
I mean, it could be in your standard operating procedures, but I love the idea of jointless floors.
Right.
The part that I don't love, and I'm not trying to be negative here, I guess it is being negative, but the part that I don't love is that the consideration that a concrete floor that's going to have 60 linear feet spacing should act the same way that a concrete does
Sure.
with 10-foot
Right.
linear spacing between joints. And that's just the harsh reality. That's not true. You cannot use standard concrete, standard methods, and get a jointless slab. You'll
Right.
have to use some type of
Higher
performing standard operating procedure, or higher performing concrete mix with
Right.
different additives and admixtures.
Agreed.
So I think that's just the
Harsh reality.
harsh reality. I love jointless floors. I think it's a great concept, and it looks cool too.
It looks very cool.
Question number 2. So this is from Imad Bouya. If I said your name wrong, I apologize profusely. He is a PhD candidate at the University of Windsor in Ontario, Canada.
Cool.
Oh, we're going to come visit you when we go see our cousins up in Ontario. Maybe not. So the question was, from Imad was, what is the best way to get a smooth surface when placing ultra high performance concrete? Did you want to, or did you talk about UHPC?
I said what it was.
Do you want to do that one more time?
It is an ultra high performance concrete.
Now, normally when we play with ultra high performance concrete, we're talking about excessively high concrete strengths as well as other features and benefits.
Sure.
And normally the concretes that we have to do, just like the jointless slab, the concretes that we have to use to make that, you're normally sacrificing something.
Right.
And to get those excessively high strengths, we were once working on bomb target concrete,
Right.
35,000 PSI,
Yeah.
somewhere around that ballpark. And when that concrete was coming down the chute, it didn't really resemble concrete. It was more like cotton candy.
Well, the other thing is too, then you've got this incredibly brittle material.
Sure.
A lot of times you don't get that ductility with those really high performing.
Yeah.
Not always.
Not always, but I mean, focusing
Yeah.
on
Yes.
the UHPC
Yes.
definition per ACI,
Right.
I believe stipulates the use of fibers, so that takes over
Oh, does
that.
it?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I did not.
I think that's ACI 239, but I could be wrong
Okay.
on that.
I
But
did
there
not-
is a
I did not know
UHPC
fibers were
guideline.
there. Great.
So the best way to get a smooth surface when placing UHPC, that was the question.
Sure.
And oftentimes when using these ultra high performance mixes, one of the things that you sacrifice
It's your workability.
and the creamy and dreaminess.
Right. So then you use what, a good finishing aid?
Well, that's the thing. What Whitney was driving at is because we're losing that creamy and dreaminess, the mix is fairly sticky when you try to float it
Right.
or throw
It's
pans
gonna be
on
a
it.
mess.
It might tear open that surface, and finishing it more.
We'll just make it even worse.
Exactly. So what we have used in the past, Obex is a great developer
Oh,
of it.
absolutely.
They have some beautiful products out there. They're OTA, they're Crete Shield. They're called finishing aids. I think a better way of terming it is topical admixtures.
Okay.
And yes, there are topical admixtures out there
Sure.
that bring that creamy and dreaminess back to the surface, specifically for either when your concrete is in a nasty environment, hot,
Sure.
there's no humidity in the air, a lot of solar radiation, so that surface dries out, or you're using a higher performing concrete where it's just a very sticky
Sure.
and hard to manage finish.
Well, and especially if it's ultra high performing concrete, you don't want to throw water on that slab because then you're gonna, I mean, it's not good to do it in general. It's better to use some sort of topical admixture, but especially for your ultra high performing, you really want to make sure that you're treating the surface right and using the appropriate materials and chemicals to close that surface up and finish it.
Thank you for your question, Imad.
Question number 3.
Question number 3. I co-hosted a webinar on Juno, which is an alternative supplementary cementitious material by Surface Tech. It's an awesome project and product that I get to work on with them. I love being part of that team, and we had a question today during that webinar, which actually led down a bunch of more. I mean, those were some
Great question.
Freaking great
So
question.
nice when you have like an engaged audience.
I taught a class at Stevens Institute of Technology. I was a professor.
You were.
I was a professor.
You were.
And I remember I used to bribe my kids with extra credit to ask questions. Today, doing that Juno webinar with Steve, it was freaking...
Just a great webinar.
We really had some good questions.
You seemed like you were really enjoying it.
I was totally into it. So one of the questions was, how does Juno impact colored concrete? And I don't know the person who asked this, but so Juno impacts colored concrete in a very positive way. One of the biggest problems that we have in the colored concrete part of our industry is that you might have a brochure color, like you want this blue or this pink. I don't know if they actually make that color pink.
Probably.
But if you use integral or concrete additives that are integrated or mixed into it, the harsh reality is that color is going to eventually pastel out.
Yep, totally will.
And that's cost from, do you remember what that's cost from?
Efflorescence.
Oh my gosh, I love you. Give me a kiss. Efflorescence, and what efflorescence is that migration of salt
It's coming up to the surface.
to the surface of the concrete. We can't get past that.
Right.
I mean, concrete,
Well, you can't, but you can seal the surface, which helps.
but you cannot
The
get,
topical admixture.
but you can't get, no.
Can't you?
No, that yes you can, but what I'm trying to get at is we cannot get past that there are salts in concrete.
That are, okay.
Soluble alkalis, earth metals, I mean shoot, even the parent materials of cement hydration, try and dicalcium silicate, that calcium is one of those salts that migrates to the surface, and normally in the form of calcium hydroxide. So, I mean, yes, finishing aids are good, but by using an integrated
Oh, sure.
alternative binder,
You've got kind of an extra, and really through the entire concrete, you have that level of protection.
it's going to effectively manipulate the porous sponge. I use that. I like that phrase, effectively
The
manipulate the molecular kinetics,
of
cement
concrete.
hydration.
Oh,
I love that, but it is going to densify that hardened sponge, that porous sponge of concrete.
Right.
Now that's the Achilles heel.
Right.
Now that's what they don't talk about Achilles. It also gave him strength, but it was that weakness.
Sure.
And that porosity allows the migration of salts to the surface, which ends up pasteling out. You know, there are still people who use black pigment in concrete, and I never understand
I don't get that.
I don't understand it, because unless you're using something like Juno,
That's going to keep it like black. Then
that's
it's just
going to
gonna
keep
look
it that
gray.
brochure color within a week, 2 weeks.
It looks like regular concrete.
Maybe I shouldn't have made that sound, but it just blows my mind
Right, I know.
that people are throwing money at this.
Black is freaking cool though if you can get it to work.
Yeah,
Like
right.
we've seen it and
Yeah.
it looks awesome.
Yeah.
But you're right, if they're not using something like Juno to be able to hold that color in there, then what's the point?
Well,
So,
hey, it looks good for the first week. It looks good for the first week. So, to answer the question, making a full circle, we took a little bit of tangent,
we always do.
And
We
then-
love our tangents.
but then we come back.
We do.
So, Juno does have an impact on colored concrete. It is a positive impact,
Right.
and it'll give you that brochure color that either you want for your own project or that
Sure.
you're selling to your end
clients,
user, your
Yep.
owners. So, okay. So, thank you very much for your time today. We hope you enjoyed Q&A Wednesday on a Tuesday.
On a Wednesday. No, it's Tuesday.
It's totally Tuesday.
Thought it was Q&A Wednesday
It's
on Wednesday.
late enough on a Tuesday
It's almost Wednesday.
that we could call this a work Wednesday.
Yeah, agree.
We're good. So, like, subscribe. If you got any questions, concrete concerns, don't forget to throw them in the comments below. Go concrete.
Beat asphalt.
What?